The Maker Signal with Benjamin Lyles.
Welcome back, everybody, and this is Benjamin Lyles. I'm actually doing this without a script today, so I will be able to engage with my camera today. So this is episode 13. It's about remembering and grief. About 6 to 7 years ago, our world was hit with COVID, and a lot of us lost loved ones during that time. My family was not immune by any means. And that's why I'm going over this episode with remembering and grief. How do you deal with it? How do you stay faithful as a Christian when this finally touches you? When it finally happens to you? And it was hard for me. It was hard for my family. What started 2021 as a lot of happiness and a lot of, oh, great things are going to happen for us this year and everything, quickly became a situation of how are we going to make it through this. To start this whole narrative off for what happened in 2021, especially with my family, was we already knew my grandmother, Grandma Welch. She was already very advanced in years. She was, had she just lived a little bit longer that year, she would have turned 100. And by, I want to say, July, August, I gotta look that up. Give me just 1 second. I don't just do what I do with music and programming and all. I'm looking for her. By about yeah, about July, my grandmother's health started declining badly. She was born in, oh, sorry, she was just a year shy of gonna be 100. She would have turned 99 in 2021. But COVID did a lot of damage, not just to my family, but like I said, the world over. Everybody lost somebody. Um, in the early part of COVID, I even love the movie That Thing You Do, and one of the songwriters who had been with Fountains of Wayne, him and one other guy, I think from Fountains of Wayne, had penned the song Stacy's Mom, which was a massive hit for them. It was a breakout hit for them. Well, by the time they did, by the time the one guy, I forget his name off the top of my head, by the time he had also lent his hand to helping Tom Hanks develop some of the music for That Thing You Do. Uh, great movie, great everything. Well, fast forward to COVID, he lost his life to due to COVID as well, and he wasn't he wasn't an old guy. He was young. I mean, I forget how old he was when he died, and when COVID struck us all. but he was one of the very first ones to go due to COVID, and uh, that was sad. I remember finding out, and that was sad. Um, just we lost a lot of great people during that time. So fast forward to about the ending of July, beginning of August. We thought my grandmother was gonna be fine. That she was gonna come through. No, before before the end of August, uh, right near the tail end, she she passed away, and we we reconciled rather quickly and easily because we didn't think more of it. Well, what made that worse for 2021, this is harder for me. I've always promised my dad I would stick with music, writing, songwriting, especially, and playing guitar for as long as I can. And I still do pick up my guitar, I do still play. Little bit of backstory here before I do this and melt down, because of this is not an easy subject, talking about COVID and remembering those who went before you. And don't get me wrong, I would rather bury a parent before my time comes, because I don't think it's ever fair for a parent to bury their child, for a parent to outlive their child. But 1968, my parents met early part of 1968. I believe it was a New Year's Eve party, and my dad had just finished working, and he walked into him and his friend's shared apartment, and he had no idea that my mom was standing there. So he just walks in, bypasses everybody, doesn't say hi to anybody. He just goes straight to his room, where, uh, where with what I'm told, then he's 18 years older than my late uncle too, his baby brother. And like I said, this is 1968. So I think my uncle was about 7 at the time. My dad just calls him up, tells him, "I love you, have a good night." And I don't think he came back to that party after that. You know, I, my mom took one look at him, and she was unimpressed. She was like, "Oh, he's a jerk," automatically, because, he didn't stick around to say hi to anybody. He didn't say hi to her. Fast forward about a good 6 months, or a few months after, so it would have been about maybe April. He had gotten to know my mom. They were both living in Dallas at the time, and he had driven her to, I think it was, I'm trying to remember what my dad said. I think it was one of the few lakes around the Dallas area. Anyway, they drive up, and Dad parks, of course. My dad, Tommy, parks, and he just casually looks over to my mom doesn't miss a beat. It's not even a marriage proposal, and he just says, "You want to get married?" Mom just barely looks over at him and says, "Yep." What a way. They had known each other all of 4 months. Needless to say, two 2 months after that, my parents get married in Dallas. Their their wedding anniversary was has always been July 20th, 1968. They married in Dallas, like I said. Um, so it was, yeah, that's about right. 6, 7 months after the fact, after they met, they got married, and you know, things things were pretty hunky dory. So 2021, like I said, we're we're pretty optimistic as a family. We think everything's fine, everything's hunky dory. My dad had been in and out of the hospital a number of times for COVID related illnesses. And, you know, that's the thing with COVID. You just never know. It's really touch and go. I had gotten uh, COVID early in 2021. Of course, my COVID was very light. Yes, I could not breathe very well, but I made it through COVID. COVID, and if you remember the effects of COVID, it made you feel like you just could not breathe, like you could not catch your breath. And so we're thinking my dad is gonna be fine. He'll be good. But we didn't know that, and I didn't hear about this until this is so hard, guys. This literally is hard for me. Just give me a minute because I'm looking something up really quickly. So, what complicated matters for my dad? He not only got COVID for, I think, the third or fourth time in 2021. Apparently, I think he had esophageal cancer or throat cancer, one of the two. Um, I wanted to be there for my mom. And don't get me wrong, I ended up being with my mom um, the night that my dad passed away. I never got to say That's what makes this episode so hard. As much as my dad and I fought while I was a teenager, I loved him a lot. I can talk about mentors all day long, but my biggest mentor in my life was my dad. Um, he championed me a lot. When things got tough in my life, he was good at encouraging. When he did, um, but you got this sensitive, creative guy, a Libra, me, with mixed with my dad's Virgo personality, because he was born August 27th. Oddly enough, I've got a cousin who was born the same day, and needless to say, my dad were a bit like fire and ice at times. Um, but I just never got a chance to tell my dad before he passed away, hey, I love you, and I'm proud to be your son. But the one thing I didn't get a chance to tell him was goodbye. When my mom called me, it was 2 days before Thanksgiving, 2021. It would have been November 23rd. When my mom called me and said your dad is passing away, um, I didn't waste any time. I got in my car and got over there. By the time I got to their house, my dad was gone. He was physically gone. Um, Now, when I say that, his body was there, just no breath. He, what makes 2021 so dark in my mind about that period was we had just lost my grandmother just a couple months before, and now my dad passes away. Double whammy. I hate Thanksgiving. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean that in the sense of I'm not thankful. I'm hugely thankful. I'm thankful for the life I have. I'm thankful for the roof over my head. I'm thankful for the cat. I've got a good cat that loves me, that knows when I'm sad, or when I'm hurting, or when I don't feel well. That's a whole different podcast right there. I could talk about my cat, but sorry guys, I'm just a little sad at this point talking about all this. But needless to say, yeah, everybody goes through grief, and how do you handle it? Um, this episode for remembering and grief of this podcast, pretty difficult to go through when you think about it. And but how do you get through those moments? Do you hold your head high? Do you go through the cliche things? We'll make it through this, all that jazz, or do you get like Jeremy Camp did when he lost his first wife? Do you just want to rail at God, which is a natural and good good response if you're a person of faith. In Jeremy Camp's case, he threw a Bible, I believe, and he just cried out, "Why?" I believe that. I believe that's the case. I don't know for sure. I wasn't there. It's just that's how they portrayed it for the movie. I believe. I still believe, which is a Jeremy Camp song. But how do you handle your grief when something bad and earth shattering like death happens to you in your family, or when it's a close friend that you love? Um, so this is my episode talking about talking about remembering those who have gone before you, your grief, how you've handled it. I think I handle my grief far differently. Don't get me wrong. I admire Luke Bryan. That man is stoic when it comes to talking about grief things. He lost his brother, sister, over a course of years, of several years. And then on top of it all, he lost his brother-in-law, his sister's husband. So he ended up adopting his sister's kids because their his nieces and nephews were just without parents anymore. So the Luke Bryan home, along with his wife, just got exponentially just a little bit bigger, and they handled their grief amazingly well from what I saw from the Dirt Road Diaries. And I am wrapping up my remembrance and grief episode for the Maker Signal here. Uh, but I just want to add on that how you handle yourself and your grief says volumes about the kind of person you are. Now, I'm not saying by any means you have to do this my way. Just, you know, find your own way with your grief. Find a way that makes sense for you to handle your grief. You guys clearly saw me struggle with my grief over having lost my dad within a short time frame after my grandmother passed, my mom's mom to be exact. Uh, all right, so to cap up, how you handled your grief. I would hope that if you're anywhere close like me, sensitive, creative, um, just enjoy people and want the best for everybody else, that you find a constructive way to handle your grief. My name is Benjamin Lyles. Uh, Faith, creativity, and I forget the last part of my usual. This is going to definitely be in my reel of gaffes when I get to that episode. Here I am just going through trying to look up for my old scripts. Yeah, this is definitely gonna make faith, creativity, technology, making what matters. Thanks for spending some time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.